Hi there, Alex here at mixinglessons.com. In today's video, we're going to talk about how to choose an audio interface. So we'll talk about what an audio interface is and what it does, and some of the things that you might like to consider if you're looking to purchase one. Before we get started, if you're looking to produce your own music, then be sure to head over to mixinglessons.com/free-downloads, and there you can download a free EQ cheat sheet, a free compression cheat sheet, and a free vocal recording guide, which will give you a real head start in your home studio. Okay, so first and foremost, what is an audio interface? Well, essentially, the audio interface is the piece of equipment that goes between your microphones and your computer. So it's what allows you to record a signal into your computer and convert it into a format that a computer can understand. So what happens is you'll plug a microphone into the interface will be connected to the computer, and then it goes through a process called analog to digital conversion. So it converts that analog signal into a digital version of the signal that the computer can work with. And then in order to hear that signal that you've recorded, it also does the opposite. It takes the signal from the computer in that digital form and it turns it back to analog. So it goes through a process called digital to analog conversion. So it allows us to listen to what we've recorded on speakers or headphones. So I would advise that the first thing that you need to think about when you're looking to purchase an audio interface is how many inputs you're going to need. So what sort of thing is it that you're going to want to record? If the only thing that you record is vocals, then theoretically you only need one input. Whereas if you want to record a full drum kit, then you're probably going to need at least 8 inputs. So for a lot of people, an interface with just 2 inputs is all that they need. For other people, depending on the kind of music they make and the kind of instruments that they record, they'll need a lot more than that. So what is it that you're going to be recording and how many inputs is that going to require? Now, on that point, you might be thinking to yourself, okay, well, I want to record a full band, so I'm going to need 16 inputs or 20 inputs or 24 inputs. But you might be looking at some of the interfaces that are on the market and you might be thinking to yourself, well, actually, most of them only seem to go up to 8 inputs, but I need more than that. What do I do? Well, some interfaces will allow you to connect multiple units together. It'll usually be done by ADAT connectivity, and it will allow you to connect 2 8-channel interfaces together to give you 16 inputs. Or 3 8-channel interfaces together to get 24 inputs. So if you're going to need a lot of inputs, have a look into whether the interfaces that you're looking at offer you that facility. Now, once you've decided how many inputs you're going to need, it's useful to start thinking about what kinds of input you'll need. Generally, there are 3 kinds of input. Probably the most common input that you'll see on an audio interface is an XLR input. So that allows you to connect a 3-pin XLR and connect a microphone to your interface, for example. A lot of interfaces will also offer you line-level jack inputs. So that's to connect something like a keyboard or an electric piano. And then there are also instrument-level jack inputs. So that's to connect something like an electric guitar or a bass guitar directly into the interface. So let's say you're going to want to record acoustic guitar and vocals, and you want to do both at the same time. Now, the microphone that you're using to record your vocals is going to be connected via XLR to your interface. If you want to record the acoustic guitar by placing a microphone in front of it, then you'll also need an XLR input on the second channel so that you can connect a second microphone. If, on the other hand, you want to plug your acoustic guitar directly into the interface, then that second channel is going to need to be an instrument-level jack input. So it's important to find an audio interface that's going to offer you not only the correct number of inputs, but the correct kind of inputs for the things that it is that you're going to want to record. Now, as you start to look at different interfaces, there's something to keep in mind when you're looking at how many inputs the interface has and what kind of inputs they are. For instance, the interface that I have in front of me here has 8 channels, so it allows me to record up to 8 signals at once. But if I go and read the description online of this interface, it would tell me that this interface has 8 XLR inputs, 8 line-level inputs, and 2 instrument-level inputs. Now, you could be forgiven for thinking that that means that you can record 18 signals at once. 8 via XLR, 8 via line level, and 2 via instrument. It doesn't mean that. You can only ever record up to 8 at once because there are only 8 channels on the interface. So the way it's laid out is that channels 1 and 2 have 1 XLR input, 1 line level input, and 1 instrument level input. And then the other 6 channels have both an XLR input and a line level input. So you could use this interface to record 8 microphone signals at once via the XLR inputs. You could use it to record 8 line level signals at once via the line inputs. You could use it to record 2 instrument level signals and 3 line level signals and 3 mic level signals but you would only ever get a total of 8 channels of audio at once. So just be aware that if the interface that you're looking at says that it has 8 XLR inputs and 8 line level inputs, for example, that doesn't necessarily mean that you can record 16 channels, because some of those inputs are on the same channel and you can only use one or the other. Another thing to think about is how many outputs you're going to need and the kind of outputs that you're going to need. So most interfaces will generally offer you 2 outputs for your monitor speakers, and then usually at least 1 headphone output as well. But some will offer more than that. Some will give you a couple of headphone outputs and maybe up to 8 other outputs that you can use for things like routing to a headphone amp. Say you're recording a band and you want 5 members of a band to all have a headphone mix. Then you're going to want an interface which gives you enough outputs to connect to a pair of monitor speakers and also go out to a headphone amp to give people individual headphone mixes. On the other hand, you might just need 1 headphone output for yourself so that you can listen to yourself recording your own vocals, for example, and then 2 other outputs for your monitor speakers. And the final thing to consider is how the interface will connect to your computer and whether that's compatible with the computer that you've got. So quite often it'll be a USB or a USB-C, but not always. It might be Thunderbolt, it might be Firewire, it might be PCI. And so just make sure that the audio interface that you're looking at is one that will definitely connect to your computer. And so these are the things that I recommend that you keep in mind as you look at audio interfaces. How many inputs are you going to need? Is 2 enough? Do you need 8? Do you need to look at potentially connecting multiple interfaces together if you need more than 8 and you need to double check that the interfaces that you're looking at are capable of that? And then what kinds of input do you need? What kinds of instruments are you going to be plugging in, or microphones are you going to be plugging in? Does the interface give you the correct distribution of inputs? If you're going to need access to some line inputs, some instrument level inputs, and some mic inputs, will you have enough of each based on the number of channels that the interface has? How many outputs are you going to need? And finally, are you going to be able to connect that interface to your computer? So I hope that helps. I hope that gives you a few things to think about when you're looking at different audio interfaces. If you've got any questions, please feel free to leave them in the comments and I'll do my best to help you with them. If you find videos like this useful, then please subscribe to the channel for future videos. And last but not least, don't forget to head over to mixinglessons.com/free-downloads and get that free EQ cheat sheet, that free compression cheat sheet, and that free vocal recording guide. Thank you very, very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.